So red moved us one spot to the deep breathing, which then red took advantage of because red was the only one that could take advantage of it. Brown, because it's a space we haven't come in contact with yet, I've decided that brown is going to move us 2 spaces. I kind of want to hold on to, I think brown still has a 0. Yeah, brown still has a 0, but I kind of want to hold on to the 0, even though brown isn't deep breathing yet. This next card might allow us to do that, because it sounds like an interesting one. So brown is going to move us 2 spaces, which brings us to a space with a hand on it, and it's the sharing section. So we go to the sharing / talking deck, which is this one here. So there's the talking side, there's the sharing side, and we flip over the first card here. And on this one, all we pay attention to is this side. This whole section here is for the talking game board, which is this mini board here, which we are not worried about at this moment. So we're going to concentrate on this here. So what happens is the player whose turn it is, which again is brown, gets to choose 2 of these. And the third item he's going to share with one of the other players. If the third item already has that, for example, like deep breathing, which isn't on this card unfortunately, but if the other choice is a deep breathing that he's going to give to somebody else, he has to give it to somebody who isn't already deep breathing. So you can't kind of give up something that they already have that's specific like that. On this one, he gets to take whatever he wants though, so 2 of them. So it's either adding a cube, which might be interesting to do on the focus, going up on the nervous system, or receiving another awakening token, which I don't think he wants to do since he already has one. I think he'd rather experience these 2 parts of it. So brown is going to go up 1. Let's put him up 1 on this side of our nervous system board, which gets him to the number 5. I really should read more about this now that they're getting up higher there to see exactly what that means for them, if there's any bonuses while we're playing. And then he's going to add 1 to one of the focus sides, which will be interesting because then this now will max us out. Since brown is on the top here, he's the next to get pushed out. So I'm thinking maybe I should add 1 there, because then the next one that comes is going to bump this whole thing up, and we'll see that happen, I'm sure. So let's try adding a brown 1 to this side, and we'll see if that strategy does us any good. So again, remembering that it only goes this far because this last space in a 2 or a 3 player game is not used, so you just have to pretend that that space isn't there. In a 2 player game, both of these spaces aren't used, so that's something to keep in mind. But for now, we're just ignoring that space. So we basically filled up the time board there now with cubes. So the next time someone has a choice, we'll see something exciting happen. So an awakening token, I think he's going to be nice and give it to yellow. Red we see has a mantra. He has an awakening. Yellow doesn't have any token yet, so let's share an awakening token with with yellow there. So there we go. So that ends that. And what happens with these cards, I don't think I said it here either, with this space, with the environment deck. Once you've used it, you just turn it face up beside the deck. When the deck runs out, all you do is just shuffle the discard deck and you go through them again. So there's the layout there again of our game board. So that's that. That's a cool little spot. Now I guess the next thing that's going to happen, so you may as well stay with me here. So we have a choice to make, I guess. what it's looking like here is the next 3 spaces are things that are going to be taken away from us. And it just depends on what yellow decides to play. So let's see what choices yellow has. Yellow has 2s, a 3, and a 0. So now, since now here's the thing, I guess yellow didn't experience this space. Yellow got a benefit from brown being on the space, but does that mean that yellow can now stay there with a 0 and experience it himself? Maybe that's an option. So if they go 2, it's going to be having to go down 1 on the nervous system track, which isn't really anything that we're excited about. If we go to the any space, this is stuff that affects everybody, by the way. If we jump with a 3 all the way to the any space, that'll kind of get us, well, it'll get us out of that section, but I'm looking here and see that there's a lot more coming. Because then people like yellow and red can just lose their deep breathing, which isn't that big of an effect. It'll only really affect brown. So maybe it's a tough choice. Maybe yellow wants to hold on to that 0 card again, you know, because I'm kind of unclear on that. They didn't experience the spot, but they did gain from it. So does that mean that they sort of took hand in experiencing it? You know what I mean? So let's pretend that that is the case and we can't play a 0. So we're gonna play a 3 and move on from there. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I find out later that I was wrong, so be it. So we'll put the token there and we'll move 3. So 1, 2, 3, sorry. Here we go, any loss for all players on our little cheat card here. Intense and loss actions. So starting at player yellow, player yellow is just going to lose their deep breathing. Player red is going to make the same choice. And now unfortunately, player brown doesn't have a deep breathing to lose, but he does have an awakening token. I don't really, although he is pretty high up on that board too, so he could probably lose one of those spaces and not be affected because he's out of the red area anyway. So maybe let's try that. Let's slide him down this track, just 1 section, and see what that does for him. So there you go. Nothing much will happen here until we get to this little triplet of losing things here, which might work out. And I guess this is where it gets interesting, because now that we've used a bunch of cards, our choices are becoming more limited as to what cards we can play. So things are about to get serious. Excuse me, sorry. Things are about to get a little more serious as far as not having as much choice on what we get to experience space-wise. So yeah, we'll leave it there. So we've had just a little bit of movement. Yellow has everybody lost, I can't remember what I covered in the last one. Everybody lost a cube from the focus boards, right? Which is the time or the shaman drum board. So that we're back kind of with, you know, what everybody started the game with. Then yellow experienced a deep breathing space, and now it's red's turn, and red has decided to take us into an intense moment, which is by playing a number 3 card. So then we move 1, 2, 3. Now these intense moments, this is where this number comes into play and where this board comes into play. So we can see here that red is on a 2, yellow is on a 3, brown is on a 4. So it comes into play with the dice as well. So here we go, we'll roll the dice and see where we tightened up here. So we've got +1. So what we do is we take that 5 and we add the 1 to it, which means a 6. So what would happen here is everybody would gain paradox is what these are called. These are these fractal things, I was calling them before, but they're actually called paradox, and they're worth half an experience point each. If anybody was 6 or higher, they would each gain one of those. So because all of us are below that number, there's going to be 2 more phases to this. The first phase is that because we're all under that number, we each lose something. So we're going to start with red. So as usual, red has the usual choices here. Losing one of the tokens, doesn't have deep breathing. Losing one of the, I don't want to lose any more cubes on there, so I think he's going to lose his awakening token. And then we'll go to brown. Brown is in about the same boat, so I think brown is going to choose to lose the awakening token. And then yellow has deep breathing, so yellow is going to flip the deep breathing over and kind of avoid losing anything else. So that's the second part of it. So every time you go through these experiences, these intense moments, because you've gone through them, you automatically, it takes a lot of energy is what it says in the book. It takes energy to experience these moments. So everybody moves down 1 cube, and that brings red to as low as they can go, which is the number 1. Yellow back to where they start. Brown is still at least 1 space higher than the start of the game. So that ends the moment there. And then it says at the bottom, if a player cannot decrease any energy because he is at the bottom of both tracks, he must lose 1 more item. He's in a full-blown panic attack. So this is that spot where red is down here now. If red was down there as well, and we had another one of these moments, they would have to lose another item. Okay, so that's what that little chart is there. That's when you get on this space. It just kind of gives you a basic overview of first step is roll the dice and add the number, subtract the number. Step 2 is that. Step 3 is what we've just done. So yeah, they're intense moments. So these intense moments took place in the trees. So kind of wandered off into the woods a little bit. But we're getting close to the shaman drums. We're getting close to another experience where everybody has to experience it, we have to experience it, and then also that's going to open up the board for us. We're also getting close to a personal path, which is this spot there. So if the person who directly lands on there is going to get to play a special personal path card, which is one of these here, which I'm hoping is going to work out for us. We're going to see what happens when we get to the shaman's drum. I don't think there's going to be anything because we're all equal. Now I don't remember if it's the amount of cubes you have on that board or if it's who's higher up on that board, because if that was the case, red would be in the lead right now on this one. Brown would be in the lead on this one. So I'll come back when I've sorted things out and we'll see what happens here. So there we go. So Brown has played number 3 that he still had in his deck, and has moved us to one of the shaman's drum spaces. So that's when we go to this board here, and let me turn you around there. So as you can see there, everybody has 1. So what happens is the person with the most cubes on this board earns 2 paradox, which are again those little fractal type things. If it's a tie, the person who's highest up on that board wins the paradox. So in this case it's red. So congratulations red, you've won 2 of these. So we'll put those in red's stash, which are good because when it comes to losing things, at least it gives red another option. So now what happens is, because that is done and red won, red will be taking its cube. If there was multiple cubes on this, red would lose the cube that's nearest the top of the board. So red is going to lose this cube and it goes back. So that's going to leave just brown and yellow in there, which could come in handy for yellow who's playing next if yellow has like a 1, because we've all experienced this. A 0 wouldn't help, but a 1 would allow us to experience it again at a different spot, I believe. And it would go back to that chart again, or go back to this Shaman's Drum game board there. So that's what the Shaman's Drum does. So I will be back and we'll see what happens next. Okay, so here we go. Yellow's turn. We were there. Yellow didn't have a 1. Yellow had a 2, which brought us to this spot that we have to stop on. So a couple of things will happen here. So let's focus on one of the more exciting things. Now that we're on this place here, we get to change over the game board. So let's unfold it once and see what we get to reveal. So there's a nice look. I have a mode on my camera here called Vivid, which kind of makes the colors pop a little brighter than normal. So that's hopefully that's adding an extra dimension for you there of what this game board looks like. So we've got to do that, and now we're back at this spot again, where it's a choice of 3 different things that you can do. So we started on yellow, so the choice is to gain an awakening token. The choice is to go up on 1 cube on the nervous system track, or add a cube to one of the 2 focus tracks, which is either the time one or the Shaman's Drum one. Now, the time one is coming up pretty soon here, so that might be a good choice for somebody, but we'll see where everybody's standing. So we start at yellow. Yellow's already got an awakening token. I don't necessarily know if they want another one. How is their nervous system track is kind of where they started, and they're also where they started on the focus tracks too. So maybe there's no real intense moments coming up yet. They're not happening for a little while, so that's going to give us a bit of time to hopefully bump up on these for yellow, since yellow is sitting at the beginning spot. Maybe yellow wants to add to the time, so let's do that one. So we'll throw down a cube here for yellow. Because whoever's in the lead here when we hit this gets one of these tokens, and each of these are worth 3 experience points each. So we'll go for that for yellow. Red goes next. One of those tokens isn't such a bad thing. An awakening token isn't such a bad thing for red, but I think what red might be more concerned about right here is being so far down, because there's no place to go down further. Again, there's a lot of time before those intense moments, but I think red's going to choose to get out of the below the red section track there and just bump up 1. And that leaves us with brown. Brown has nothing here. Brown is losing at this one. Still has a cube there. Is kind of 1 above their starting position on both of those tracks, so I think they're going to be okay there. If brown put 1 here, brown would then be in the lead because they have the one that's highest as well. It would also leave them in a position of being pushed out though by anybody at another given time. So maybe brown is going to decide to, let's put brown, another one on the shaman's drum there. Let's do that. Let's see how that play works for us. Again, even though that's not coming for a while. Brown's gambling. So that completes that. Next is going to be the personal path spot. So we'll see if red still has a 1 left. I'm not so sure that they do, so we might not get to play with the personal path spots yet. There's another one coming up over there, so and there's going to be more on the board. Yeah, there's one there as well too. So I think we're going to get many more chances to experience and play with these cards here. So we'll leave it for now and we'll see what happens. I'll be back. So wow, that that really did some damage to us there, those last couple moves. It's really, you really get a sense now of how the cards and how the cards that you play affect you when you get down to this point, because your choices are so slim. We didn't have a choice, so we went, I believe it was brown who went 1, 2, 3, who had to go to 3 spots. Can't remember, or no, maybe it was red's. Anyway, yes, red went to the 3rd spot, which was another one of these cards, which was the Disturb, I guess it says on there. Oh, the environment cards, that's right. So everybody became disturbed, and unfortunately on this one, if you had a 3, you gained something. If you had any other card, you lost something. And because we were so far down in our cards, nobody had a 3, so everybody ended up losing something. Lost a fractal. Can't remember what yellow lost. Oh, lost a, I think each of them lost a awakening token, I believe is what happened with them. Then brown unfortunately only had a 0 or a 1. I guess brown could have played the 0 and stayed there, but he decided to play the 1. Decided to play the 1, which brought us to here, where everybody lost a cube from the focus tracks, so that really shifted things here. And then thankfully yellow had a 2 to get us at least out of there, so we weren't stuck. And now we're on the time counter there. So we go to our board, we see that yellow has 2. So yellow has won the first hour token, which just means that it's something else that yellow can lose, unfortunately. But so that's what happened there. So now yellow has to take 1 off again. So yellow has to take the one that's highest up and puts it back to his or her stash. It's still yellow's turn, so we're back on a fire, which I think is the one where everybody plays a card and gains play 1 mood card, and you get to acquire what's on the card. So yellow has none, so yellow's in a good spot here where they can gain anything they want. Red and brown both have only 1 card left each, so what they get is what they're gonna get, which in this case, it's going to be a cube for red, and it's going to be a fractal for brown, so maybe we'll do those now. So there's a fractal for brown. That goes there, and red's going to gain a cube. Let's put red here on the shaman's drum track, since now we passed the head. Let's start building up that one again. And yellow, I'll just take you through this. Oh, look at that. I think, so yellow could do deep breathing. So what this symbol means is you can take a card from your discard pile and add it back to your hand. Yellow doesn't have a discard pile, so that one is basically meaningless. This one is go up 2 spaces on the nervous system for yellow, which might be a good play. This is adding a couple of cubes, which is also a good play. This is adding 1 cube, going up 1 space. A fractal, not so interested in that. This is pretty good too. A mantra, gaining a mantra might be a good one as well to have, since I believe we're getting closer to that section anyway. I think it's when the board flips over again that we get into the mantras. But I don't know, these two are the most appealing here. Even though they are 3s, it allows us to gain 2 on either of those tracks, which I think might be a good thing, especially this one, gaining a couple of spots on the nervous system track, you know. So yellow's gonna do that. And bump up 2 spaces there on that side of things. So there you have it. And then this will go upside down. Just remember whose turn it is. So that's that spot experienced for everybody. Then we move on to one of these again, where we get the choice of the awakening token, the nervous system track, or adding a cube. So everybody's going to do that. Gaining a token or moving up on these boards might be beneficial for yellow to get onto the Shaman's Drum board, so we're going to do that for yellow. Red, how's red looking over here? Red isn't on the time. I think red's going to choose to bump up, and then brown is going to choose not a token. I think I really want to, I have a feeling, as much as like the tokens and things for the end of the game are going to be beneficial, we're so far from the end of the game, I really think that all of us are going to focus on this track here. So brown is going to opt with moving up 1 here as well, since I mean eventually we will have quite a lot more unavoidable 3, 6, 7 in a row, 7 intense moments in a row, which pretty serious business with a number of 6 attached to it. So we've really got to boost up our levels on here. So that's that. So yellow's had their turn finished, and now it's going to move to red, which will then get to reshuffle his cards, and these spaces we've seen already. So I think now will be the time that I say goodbye for a little while and really make some headway around the board, unless anything really incredible happens that I have to tell you about. But unless we can get to that, which actually he might be able to in this one, I might force him to take this intense moment, which will mean landing on this space. So it'll be some reading on, do I have to experience this space before I move to my personal path there? Or do I just land there and go straight to my own personal path? So I'll read up about that. I'll come back and we'll talk about that, and we'll call it quits for this part of the video here.